All right. Welcome back, everyone, to the Guillotine Greatness. Second season. First one was awesome. I think it was a lot of your first times playing in the Guillotine format, and I think it was a lot of fun. I mean, I had fun commissioning it, making the videos every week. But yeah, best time of the year now, starting up again. And we have two new people joining the league. That is my brother David, older brother, and his friend Matt. They both went to Trinity, for those of you that know Ryan went to Trinity and some of us did. So, yeah, welcome them to the league. And this year, I've got some proposed amendments to make the league hopefully more fun and fair and just interesting. I don't know. So I have 4 amendments I'm going to propose, and then I'll have the league vote on them. I'll put polls in the chat after I post this video. But yeah, let's start it off. First slide, this is just the broad overview. If you do not want to watch this whole video, you can leave right after this slide or just take this slide and read the words and be done with it. But I'm going to go into each of these in depth on the coming slides. So first off, I like the idea of tight end premium. The other Guillotine league I'm in does this. Essentially, tight ends get full PPR while everyone else, as normal, gets half PPR. It kind of just inflates the tight ends a bit. Gives them more value. I know there's the top tier tight ends that are already really, really good, and it's just going to make them better. But I think that's okay. It just means people will have to take the risk and draft the Travis Kelce's and whatever higher than we did last year. But then it gives tight ends more value in the flex. Just allows you to use tight ends more. I think it just generally makes them more usable and fun in that way. And the second one is the weekly fab stimulus. This is a very small, minor thing, but in a way adds a little bit of strategy. So essentially the lowest surviving team each week. So the lowest team gets eliminated. The lowest team after that normally gets the trash can logo, on your slide. David and Matt have no idea what I'm talking about, but everyone else does. That person would get, I'm going to say $2. I like the idea of a $2 fab stimulus is 100 total you get on the year. So 2 doesn't seem too significant. But it's enough that if you're going into Monday night and you feel safe enough that you're not going to get last, or you're already guaranteed not getting last, then you could bench a player or something. But you also could run into this scenario where you end up putting your season at risk if you try to do something like that just to get the fab stimulus. But some people get desperate for fab and need it, so it's a minor thing. But yes, a $2 fab stimulus for the lowest surviving scoring team each week. The third one is, I think the third and fourth place rosters should lock. So, Ryan and Cooper, I believe, got third and fourth last year. So in theory, instead of their teams getting dropped to waivers after they get eliminated, they would get locked. And I'm saying just the starting roster. You can't stash someone on your bench intentionally just so that the final 2 teams can't have them. Just the starting rosters get locked. So it limits the player pool for the 2 championship teams. I think it adds more strategy to not have literally every single player available for the final week. It still does, obviously, even at that point, does involve strategy, but I just think it adds another element of strategy. And also kind of would make everyone want to spend their fab probably before, right after the 5th team gets eliminated, because then they know the 3rd and 4th place teams are not going to drop their rosters, and they can only get people on waivers. So waivers will still be open, but 3rd and 4th place rosters will be locked. And the final one, which is the biggest one, and I'll explain it last because it's going to probably take the longest to explain and run through scenarios, but I want to allow a second chance for the teams that get eliminated early. I'm saying the first 6 weeks, essentially, if you get eliminated, so Philip got eliminated last year in week 1, he would have a chance to come back. And it's a very low chance, but at least gives him something to do for 1 more week before being fully eliminated and gives him the slightest bit of hope. So essentially, as normal, your eliminated teams, their players will get dropped to waivers and they will lose all their fab. But now they're allowed to try to put together a team with 0 fab from waivers to try to outscore someone the next week for a chance at revival or resurrection or whatever we want to call it. So let's say he ends up outscoring me the next week. Then he's back in, and I'm also going to say you get a $50 fab back, so you're not back in the league with 0 fab and a trash team, because there's no way you're going to pull it off after that. But essentially, yeah, you can have a chance to come back in. I'm going to get in more detail when I get on the slides, so I'm not going to go into it any more than that here. But that's essentially the premise. And yeah, let's get into tight end premium. It's pretty self-explanatory, but I wanted to give an example of what that would look like based off last year's numbers. So on the left is wide receivers and tight ends, their fantasy points based off half PPR last year. And as you can see, Sam Laporta was the only one that kind of got anywhere up there. He was the 15th best wide receiver / tight end in terms of fantasy points. And then you have Travis Kelce, Evan Ingram, TJ Hawkinson down there at 28, 29, and 30. If they were all full PPR, this is what it would have ended up looking like with Sam Laporta and Evan Ingram. Evan Ingram was like a receptions machine last year, so that's why he bumps up so high. Kelce, Hawkinson, and then you even see Njoku and Kittle bump into the top 20, so that puts 6 tight ends in the top 20 wide receivers and tight ends. So I don't know. It just adds a little more value to them. And then obviously when you go farther down the list, I wasn't going to put everything on here, but those lower end tight ends, they get like 3 or 4 catches a game, end up being kind of valuable in terms of a flex play. So that's the theory behind it. I'm a fan of it, but obviously it'll go up to a vote if you guys want to do this. The next thing is the weekly fab stimulus. It's pretty self-explanatory. Just give an example here. In this week from last year when I got eliminated, I was the 12th team here. I got eliminated, and in this situation, Ryan gets the $2 fab stimulus. Pretty self-explanatory. So we'll vote on that as well. The third and fourth place roster locks. So as I said, Ryan and Cooper's teams were third and fourth respectively last year. So in theory, these were their starting teams. I don't know if these were actually their starting teams. I was struggling to find the league history, but this is the picture I had on their slides those weeks. So in theory, these are the players that would have been locked from the championship teams. I would say no to their benches. I think benches get dropped. I think that would be annoying if they could stash like a quarterback or someone or whatever on their bench just so the championship teams can't use them. So no, benches do not get locked, just the starting rosters. And I circled the ones that this year ended up being used in the championship. Kamara, the 49ers defense, Kyron Williams, and Cooper Kupp were on the championship team's starting rosters. So, you can, just to give an example, that these players would have been used. Not all of them, clearly not many of them, but some of them were. Kind of surprised Puka wasn't, but I'm sure it was matchup based at the time. And Laporta, to be honest, surprised he wasn't. But yeah, that is that theory. And now the most complicated one. I've really, written it out here, but I'll go into examples in the next slide. But I'll walk through this so that the process is understood, and I feel like this fully outlines it. So, per usual, the lowest scoring team each week is eliminated. Kind of. But they're eliminated in the sense that all their players get dropped to waivers, their fab goes to 0. But now they get one chance to regain a spot in the league by building a team from the remaining players on waivers with their 0 fab. If an eliminated team is able to outscore a surviving team in the subsequent week, you only get 1 week to try to come back, then that eliminated team is resurrected, so to speak, and takes the spot from the surviving team and is awarded 50 fab. If the eliminated team is unable to outscore anyone in the subsequent week, which is most likely what will happen every week, their players are dropped and they are fully eliminated. They have no chance to come back. In the unlikely occurrence of a resurrection, if we do go through with this, I'd be very surprised if it happened. I just think it, adds an interesting element to the league. It gives people who get eliminated early a second chance. Gives them just a glimpse of hope. But in the unlikely occurrence of a resurrection, the following week there will now be 2 teams on the block because, in essence, a team did not get eliminated the previous week. And that would be then the 2 lowest scoring teams will get eliminated. And some important clarifications, even though I've already said them, just want to clarify. Eliminated teams only get 1 chance or 1 week to resurrect themselves before full elimination. Their waiver claims will run at the same time as all other waiver claims. At first I was thinking I would let waivers run and then let them snatch up people, but they're going to have 0 fab anyway. I think they can put in waiver claims at the same time as everyone else. They should be fine. And this will only be for the first 6 weeks. After the first 6 weeks, starting week 7, teams are fully eliminated immediately after being the lowest scoring team on a given week. After a team is resurrected, if they get eliminated again, they are fully eliminated. Even if we're still within the first 6 weeks, they do not get a second chance for resurrection in that unlikely circumstance. But yes, now let's hop into theoretical hypotheticals here. So let's say I kind of pulled some dummy numbers from week 1, but I kept it the same that Philip gets eliminated. In theory, so red means full elimination, so he's orange. He's not fully eliminated yet. Going into week 2, the first hypothetical being, let's say he pulls together a team and is only able to score 55. He's the lowest scoring team the next week. He is now fully eliminated. And if I was the lowest scoring actual surviving team, now I am half eliminated going into week 3. I would be eliminated. My team would get dropped. I'd lose all my fab, but I'd go into week 3 with a chance to pick up people on waivers using 0 fab and trying to put together a team, just like Philip did here. The second hypothetical is where Philip actually outscores somebody with a team of 0 fab from waivers. Let's say he outscores me. Now, he is alive. I am half eliminated. No one gets fully eliminated this week. All 18 are technically still in it. And then I will take this second hypothetical and we will go to the next slide to see how week 3 would then go. So in the hypothetical where Philip resurrects himself and I'm on the block next week, or I'm half eliminated already. The first hypothetical, let's go with Philip does fine. He survives, he's good, and he stays alive again. And let's say I am the lowest scoring team next week, then as normal, that was my one chance. I missed it. I'm fully eliminated then. And let's say Potter was the last or second to last in theory. He is now half eliminated. But the second hypothetical is if in week 3, me and Philip, me being the one who's on the block or already got half eliminated, and Philip is the one who already got resurrected, are both the lowest scoring teams. We're both fully eliminated because Philip already was resurrected. He doesn't get a second chance, and I was on the block and I failed, so I am also out. And if we were flipped, it would be the same way. Even if I was 17th and he was 18th, we'd still both be dead. The third hypothetical, which if this happens, it would be absolutely insane. But I have to be prepared in case it does happen. Let's say Philip and I both are not in the bottom 2, because going into week 3, there's 2 on the block. I guess I should have started with that. 2 people are up for being eliminated because Philip resurrected himself in week 2. Let's say Philip and I are both not in the bottom 2. Then we are both alive, but now we now do not have a second chance if we are to get eliminated in a subsequent week. But we survive week 3, and then the 2 bottom people are now both on the block going into week 4, which this is where it gets dicey. I'd be surprised if we ever got to this point, so I feel like we can kind of cross this bridge when we get there. But in theory, this would mean 3 people are on the block in week 4. Or in this situation, we could say between David and Potter in the bottom 2, in a week like this where there's 2 people that are going to get eliminated and neither of them are the people that just resurrected themselves, the bottom of the 2 just gets full eliminated without a chance for resurrection. But I say that's not fun. I'd rather, if something crazy like this happens, I'd rather let it happen and let us go into week 4 with 3 people on the block. So that's what I think. I don't think I'll change my mind on that. I think if we get to this point, it'd be crazy unlikely anyway. But yeah, that is the situation essentially for this second chance for early eliminated teams. Only the first 6 weeks. But hopefully that made enough sense. I feel like I was confusing myself putting these slides together, but I think it makes sense. And I think it could be really interesting. It'll be really fun to watch those teams putting together teams with 0 fab that are like absolute garbage players, but clawing their way for survival. So I think it'll adds a fun element. I don't think it should really shift the league as a whole that much. It just adds a little bit of fun for the teams that get eliminated early. Gives them one more chance to play. But yeah, it brings us to the last slide here. The draft date. So some of you may not know, my wife and I have our first kid expected probably at the end of August. It could be early September, but it's seeming more like it's going to be the end of August at this point. So we're just like 3 weeks away, and I would really rather do the draft before the baby is born, because I think it's pretty self-explanatory. I can be a little more focused on the draft beforehand. So ideally, I think we could do a weekday night. I think that's how we did it last year, on a weekday night. In theory, we could do it this week. I know today's Tuesday that I'm recording this. Tomorrow's Wednesday, so 8/7 to 8/9. Wednesday through Friday of this week, in theory, I could do any of those. Or a weekday night next week, 8/12 to 8/16. The week after that, I could also probably do it on a weekday, so I think that's 8/19 to 8/23, something like that. But let me know what you guys think. We'll probably do a vote in the sleeper chat, but send a message if there's a date that definitely does not work for some of you. And the last order of business is the draft order. Last year we did the normal randomization on sleeper, and we could very well do that again, but I think it's fun to do it in another way, in another randomized way. Some of you may have seen before the Super Smash Bros. Tournament, where we put all CPUs, we had 18 CPUs, all max level, and we just simulate a tournament. In theory, you guys could all pick your players, but they're all going to be computers playing each other. I would record it and probably post it on the same YouTube channel. / you would just see the results and who got what place. So whoever wins the tournament gets the first pick in reverse order from that. That's one theory, or one way we could randomize the draft order in a fun way. The other way is the Hot Wheels on the treadmill. I don't know if you guys have seen this. But essentially I put like 18 Hot Wheels on a treadmill. Your name is on each car. Start the treadmill, and then the last car standing on the treadmill is first overall pick, and the first one to fall off is 18th, and so on and so forth from there. So that's that idea. And the other idea I had that I came up with, for those of you that like golf out there, which I know that some of you do, I would take 18 golf balls to a putting / chipping green. I would put all of your initials. You'd each get a ball with your initial on it. I'd have someone else put the balls down so that I cannot see whose ball I'm hitting at any moment, so there's no bias. But I chip all 18 balls towards a hole, and basically closest to the pin from there. So the closest one, or one goes in, then that's first overall pick, and then the farthest is the last pick, and so on and so forth. Those are the three ideas I came up with outside of the normal randomization, which I'm fine with doing, but I thought I'd try to make it fun in some way as well, and I'm happy to do any of these. But throw your ideas out there too if you have any cool randomizing draft order ideas. I'm all ears. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm going to be sending out polls in the chat for the 4 amendments, and we will vote just majority on if we want to go through with any of these amendments, or make any of these amendments. And then also we'll try to coordinate the draft time sometime soon. I want to do it sooner rather than later, really. And then I will also send out a poll on this draft order randomization, these options. And please send out your ideas as soon as possible so I can get them. If I like any of them, I want to include them in the voting. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm excited for this year, guys. So good luck, and talk to you guys later.